Well, hello, welcome to Footnotes, episode 2.
Episode 2, in which we'll be discussing the Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, specifically how to make that movie better. This is Jacob Block. I'm Ezra Block. And if you haven't watched the first episode of the podcast, don't worry, because there's no continuity between them. Do you want to start off? Last time we used this beginning moment to set some ground rules as far as the making of the adaptation. So do you want to put some ground rules as far as what we can and can't change about the Crystal Skull?
I liked the ants part.
Okay. So we're keeping the ants is what you're saying.
Keep the ants.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, that's not much stupider than anything else that happens in Indiana Jones, so why not? What else? No, but here's the big question. Is there going to be aliens in it? Or, okay, couple of big questions. First big question. Okay, first big question. Is there going to be aliens in it?
Well, if it doesn't have aliens in it,
then we have to come up with it. Yeah.
Then we have to come up with a new reason for the Crystal Skull to,
exist.
Be a Crystal Skull.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't have to be, it shouldn't be so difficult.
But does it still have powers that will drive you insane?
No, let's focus on the aliens issue first, and then we'll get to what the skull does and doesn't do after.
Right. I didn't think the aliens idea was that bad, but
well, it's based off like a terror, like the whole ancient aliens thing is like laughably horrible, right?
Well,
it's a stupid idea, right?
I mean, if aliens had gotten to us before we were able to perceive them as aliens, then that's probably how it would have happened.
We might have worshipped them as gods, but they wouldn't have us construct great monuments in their name.
Well, maybe they didn't ask for it, but they had it.
No, that's not a thing. It's wrong on every level. It's wrong on an anthropological level. It's wrong in terms that the whole theory is racist. It's wrong that it misjudges how powerful human beings actually are. It does not make any sense. If aliens found us, we would probably die from being exposed to whatever diseases they had.
I think
if they have the ability to travel through space, they're not going to give enough of a shit about us to ever command us to build something, let alone stick around and let us like do our thing. If they came here to like get resources, they're gonna wipe us off, just like breaking open the planet and stealing all the metal and oil we have.
Okay, then no aliens.
So no aliens. No aliens. All right.
The skull.
Yes.
Will either
a mystical
skull. With either.
Did you know that the Crystal Skull is a real thing?
Yes.
Yeah, you knew. Like it's okay.
All the things are based off real things.
Are they?
Maybe not the Temple of Doom.
The three stones that he gets in the Temple of Doom, is that based off of a real thing?
I mean, all the main ideas.
Yeah.
The things that he gets.
No, I know, like, the Ark of the Covenant and the Holy Grail are, like, figures in, like piece items that exist in common mythology, or, I guess, Western mythology. I don't think the stones exist. But the Crystal Skull is, like, an actual object that people found is the difference.
Yeah.
Or, I'm not sure. I think they found it and brought it back to a museum. I think they have it on display at a museum. I'm not sure.
Probably. But.
So no aliens. You want to write that down?
Right.
What if the ants are the protagonists instead of the Russians?
Wait. If the ants are following the Crystal Skull, then it must still have some sort of ability, right? Will we will we have an explanation for that, or is it just mystical?
Oh, they never explain the full potential of any of the other items. They're just mystical items, and great darkness will happen if they fall into the wrong hands.
I mean, there have been attempts to explain how the Ark of the Covenant works.
Yeah, but not in the movie. In the movie, they open it and it just kills them because God didn't like them opening it.
Okay, so no explanation to how the skull works.
Well, because the skull has like a myriad. Because like in the movies, they're never like, "Oh yes, the Holy Grail can heal you," and also when you're holding it, buses always stop for you. The skull has like a myriad of powers where they use it to like scry into people's minds, and it's like a psychic like centerpiece, but because it does different things. It's part of this set of like alien bones who are essentially immortal, right? And it's needed to trigger a spaceship lifting off. And also and also ants and animals like follow it because
they're more
because they're drawn to the power of the skull.
Right.
The mind inside of it manipulates them because they're lesser beings.
But is it? I mean, I thought we could explain it with like a magnetic force or radiation or both.
Well, no, we only have to do that if you make it science fiction. If it's fantasy, then it can do whatever, and it doesn't matter. Like logistically speaking, the Nazis getting the what's it called, the cup of whatever, the god, the Holy Grail, the
cup of wit.
I search for the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail, them getting.
I have lived forever guarding this Grail, and if I leave, I will turn to dust. Right.
And then they take it from him. So.
And then he gets crushed by the building.
But building collapsing.
Leave anyway.
Yeah. No, you can't walk past don't walk past the seal with the cup. No, because Indiana Jones's father drinks from the Grail. It doesn't make him immortal. It just temporarily heals him.
But if he kept drinking from the Grail, he would live forever, supposedly.
Right, but that's like on a massive scale, that's like a small +1 bonus to the Nazi army. Right?
But
like they can miraculously heal people, but it's a very slow advancement.
The Nazis were very scientific, so they might have assumed that the Grail could be mass-produced once they figured out what it was made of.
Very scientific. That's where the whole idea of Indiana Jones comes from, is the fact that the Nazis were like stole our archaeological artifacts and stuff because they were big into mysticism and that stuff.
Okay, but they were also pretty scientific.
Well, there were a lot of Nazi scientists, if that's what you mean. It doesn't mean all of them as a group were one way or another way.
Sure.
Well, because Indiana Jones' dad says if the Nazis get a hold of the Holy Grail, then the armies of darkness will swarm the earth, right? And that's not necessarily true because, it's not that powerful, all things considered, in a world that has bombs.
A fleet of Anubites will incubate from eggs in the walls of hell, and then Imhotep will come out and give the sun a blast ray that will destroy.
You're referencing the Mummy.
Yes, I am. That was a great show.
Oh, you're talking about the show, not like the movies with Brendan Fraser.
No, movies? There was.
Yeah, the show is based off movies. You know that?
There was one movie. There were multiple
movies starring Brendan Fraser called The Mummy. That's what the show is based off. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
I just had to explain it to you.
The Mummy is based off The Mummy. That's what it is.
Not The Mummy starring Brad Pitt, but the other Mummy.
Not that Mummy. Not The Mummy starring Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, not Brad Pitt. I can't tell the difference. I don't know what they look like.
Tom Cruise is the Scientologist. Brad Pitt's just an idiot.
I don't care about their personalities. if anything, I was asking you to give me physical descriptors to differentiate them, but it's not really important. The important thing is that the Soviets actually have a plan for what they're going to do with the skull. Like the Nazis don't have any kind of plan. It's just that they have to get to the Holy Grail, right, or else. And that's bullshit. But but in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, the Soviet lady, the dominatrix Soviet mentalist, psychic lady,
she probably
fencer.
She probably just thought she was psychic.
I think she was supposed to be actually psychic because it's all sci-fi. But yeah, whatever. Anyway, the point is, she believes that once they have the skull, they're going to use it to like look into people's heads.
Yeah.
Like, it's basically like a piece of technology that the secret that KGB can use to look inside people's heads and to brainwash people. So they actually have a plan. There's a distinctive thing that the skull can do, which is helpful to an evil organization, and which they plan on doing. They plan on using it for.
Yeah.
So that begs the question then, what does the skull do is the second biggest question.
Well,
specifically.
It can do multiple things. It can hypnotize people.
No, I mean in terms of the story, let's pick one thing that the skull can do, and that's or just say that it's no, we have to decide. It has to be that it does one powerful thing. All the others
if we're keeping the
one
ants,
powerful thing. We can take out the ants. The ants aren't that important in the grand scheme of things.
I like the ants.
Do you like the idea that the skull creates mind control? They can use it for mind control? Because it's a very Soviet Russia thing to want to be able to do, is to like look inside people's heads. And
maybe we shouldn't stereotype Russians.
Excuse me.
They're just trying to get by.
I'm not stereotyping Russians.
Thing.
I'm stereotyping the KGB and the Communist Party, who was in charge of Russia during that period of time, who were authoritarians who murdered and committed genocide. You can't stereotype people who were in positions of power and brutalized others.
Okay.
There's no sensitivity to be found there, Jacob.
Well, when you say it that way. So, but I was thinking that it could have a very, and it could have a very large power that could be used in multiple ways.
A very large power?
Yes.
No. Here, look up the actual. No, I refuse. Look, either it's going to be
the crystal skull do. The crystal skulls are human skull, hard stone carvings made of clear, milky white quartz used.
Claimed to be pre-Columbian Mesoamerican artifacts by their alleged founders. However, these claims have been refuted for all specimens made available for scientific studies. So they're a hoax, basically. But we've already laid the bed with the fact that the skull is going to actually appear in the movie, right?
Right.
Right. So go to the Crystal Skull Wikipedia page and we'll look at what it does.
Okay.
No, it's right there. Just click on it right there.
Oh.
What are you doing? Okay. Paranormal claims and spiritual associations. Jump to that. There's it down. 5. It's right there. It's right there. So paranormal can produce a variety of miracles and can cause visions, cure cancer, magical kill a man. Saw a premonition of the John F. Kennedy assassination. Okay, what if the crystal skull allows? Okay, so what about this, right? Crystal skull is used for like the crystal skull is owned by this Mesoamerican, or it was owned by this Mesoamerican like empire or whatever, right?
Yeah.
We can work out the details later. What if they used it to predict the future? And what if the crystal skull, you can like, if you have it, you can like predict things that are going to happen.
Okay, but can it also make people go insane?
It can do both. Well, do we need it to make people go insane?
But I think that the two things could come from one thing.
I don't know what that means.
Never mind. It's just
I
future
think
predicting.
that the two things
Skull
could come from one thing.
predicts the future.
All right.
Now,
So, I've
how about that part when James Jones III swings through the vines, though?
Well, first of all, Shia LeBeouf will not be appearing in our film. Neither will his character, Mutt.
So, no Indiana Jones' son?
Yeah, he was called Mutt.
Yeah, but no Indiana Jones' son?
Indiana Jones will not.
Wait.
Will. Oops.
Shit.
Will not. I know. Will not have a son. There we go. Done. Yeah, because I was. And no one will swing through the vines with a bunch of monkeys, all right? Not as long as I'm in charge of this project or have a say in it. No, I was going to say, what if the opening scene is Indiana Jones, right? He's in a. What if the opening scene is Indiana Jones is in a temple in South America, right? Or like a Mayan pyramid or something, right?
Right.
And he's like investigating and gets through a bunch of booby traps, right? And he comes to a room, right? And inside the room there's like a long table and all these like mummified remains and skeletons scattered about, right?
Yeah.
In the table, and then at the head of the table, like one of the skeletons is just holding the crystal skull, right?
Right.
And then Indiana Jones, like he like pushes the skeleton aside, right, and he reaches out and touches the skull. And when he touches the skull, we see like a flash forward, right,
of what's going to happen in the movie. I thought that would.
You went in a completely different direction.
Okay, what do you think?
I was gonna say that he sees like the Nazis or the Soviets or whoever is going after this skull, right? We haven't. I think we decided it would be the Soviets, but we can change that. Whatever. Whoever is going after the skull, he sees like this dark future.
He's going to see 9/11.
No, he sees this dark future where they're in charge, right?
Yeah.
And he like.
Wait, does this take place in the present?
What?
Does this take place in the present?
What do you mean?
Because
when was Indiana Jones around, Jacob?
The 40s?
Yeah.
Believe.
So, does that answer your question?
Sort of.
It's not going to take place in the present, no.
So it'll take place in the 70s?
And Indiana Jones will not be old.
What? Shit.
I
thought it was cool that he was old.
Jones, you like a lot of things about this movie that I don't. You're like, oh, I like the fact that there were the ants, and the fact that he had a son who swung from the vines with the monkeys, and the son's name was Mutt. And I like the fact that he was old, and the fact that the crystal skull turned people insane. I mean, those are the things that are like bad.
I mean, is Harrison Ford going to be in it at all?
Probably not.
Okay.
If we're making it, he's just not
old.
Yeah, I mean, it's like because like there's such lengths that they have to go to like justify him being in this situation, right? With him being as old as he is, and then on top of that, they can't have him in as many action scenes because he's old, and because of that, they shoehorn in Shia LaBeouf's character. I mean, you can make him old and just make the movie less action-packed, but then it's not as much an Indiana Jones film. So I feel like you just have to replace him with a different actor. He can be like James Bond or the Time Lord.
Oh, like James Bond. James Bond meets Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is sort of the James Bond of America.
That's not true, but let's keep going. So we've determined that so what do you think about that idea that he like touches the skull and he has a vision, right, of the where the skull is used by like some evil power to manipulate the world?
Is this future what might be or what will be?
What might be?
Okay. Well, that's kind of weird.
What do you mean?
Like, that's defined.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, fine.
You try using mystical artifacts to predict the future and see how well that goes for you.
Okay. So he sees the future, and then
So we're absolutely certain that the skull is the thing that the skull is going to do is that it lets you see the future.
yes,
Yes.
a possible future.
A possible future. Okay. And we're tied down to that idea.
Yes.
And we don't prefer the idea that it lets you read minds or control people's minds or whatever.
Keep saying we as if I need to assure you how you feel.
I'm just making sure before we move forward.
Okay.
Because I like the mind control idea better, but
well, you see, the fact that it can predict the future might drive some people insane.
that's true.
So we can still have the drives people insane thing.
Yeah, no, oh, that's it. And they go, oh, okay, so what if? So let's say the Nazis are after the Crystal Skull, right? They're going to use it to win World War II because they're going to use it to predict the moves of their enemies, basically.
Wait, when?
And then they're going to develop the atomic bomb and rule the world, right?
Yeah.
Using the Crystal Skull.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
Yes.
We're good with that.
Yes.
Okay.
And
oh, what if only blood activates the skull?
Sure. Sure, yeah. Blood activates the skull.
Okay, well, let's write that down. Blood activates the skull. And then I'm going to write down the opening scene. Opening scene. Indiana Jones gets through a bunch of booby traps, and discovers the skull surrounded by dead bodies in a palace chamber. He touches it with a cut on his hand and has a vision of things to come. Wait, what if it lets you see in the future and in the past?
To back up the points that we'll make for what's going to happen in the future, so you're more likely to believe it's going to happen.
I just thought it would be cool as all if someone like touched the skull and they had a vision of the Mayan Empire or whatever using it and eventually becoming like corrupted by the force of it and falling apart.
Will we be able to see them as will we be able to see a hypothetical alternate future in which the Mayans become an industrial empire?
No, that's not what I was going for at all. I was going for like an empire that existed hundreds of years before the advent of Western civilization, which rose and then fell.
Yeah.
On the back of this thing.
I just thought that might have been a vision that someone had.
Okay, well, maybe that doesn't seem very plot relevant. I felt like my thing would like give you a better understanding of how powerful and dangerous this thing is. That it changes people.
Skull records the past.
Right. Okay. All right. Neato. So. Oh, and that could be it, right? So, like, at some point, okay, so this is the way it goes, right? Okay, so first we need to decide: is he fighting the Nazis or the Soviets?
Soviets.
Okay, but if that's the case, then they can't be in America at any point, because it doesn't make any sense that the Soviets have infiltrated America.
The Soviets have infiltrated everywhere.
That's a very paranoid thing to say, but no, it doesn't make any sense that there's a bunch of Soviets running around
vilifying the Soviets
shooting people
is a paranoid thing to do.
It's not a paranoid thing to do. The Soviets deserve to be vilified.
No one deserves to be vilified.
As I discussed earlier, they were terrible people, and we don't give them the credit that they deserve for the horrible things they did.
Okay, but most people did terrible things. Moving on.
I'm not going to like stand here and defend capitalism. I'm just going to say that the communist regime was a terrible thing, equal to the magnitude of the Nazis in terms of the number of people they killed in their genocide, and they deserve to be depicted as villains in popular culture.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, but still, it seems cheap to just...
Well, of course it seems cheap.
Fine. Fine.
Well, I was also going to say at some point Indiana Jones figures out that he can't give the crystal skull to the American government, because if they get a hold of it, then America is going to become like the Mayan Empire or whatever, the Mesoamerican Empire that rose and fell.
So he becomes one of the more
becomes
wise beings. Just like in the end of the Temple of Doom when he said, "You betrayed Shiva."
I believe Shiva? It's not Shiva.
I thought it was Shiva before, but I think it's Shiva.
We're not gonna watch it right now. We can look at it later. The dog breed.
Oh, it's still a dog breed. Okay. Shiva. What?
Yeah, it's Shiva. Of course, it's Shiva.
No, Shiva the Hindu god.
Yeah, Shiva the Hindu god. Shiva, it's apparently, yeah.
The destroyer.
Oh my God. Can we please get back to the thing at hand?
Right.
It's obviously not Shiva. The only thing I was confused about was whether or not they had called it Shiva in the movie, not whether or not the god was referred to as Shiva. No, I was gonna say, okay, so Indiana Jones has a run-in with the... So is it going to be the Nazis or the Soviets?
Soviets.
Okay. Does it make sense that the Soviets are after this stuff? Because I felt like it made... Because again, like there's historical context for the Nazis to be searching for artifacts across the world, right? There isn't as much historical context for the Soviets to be doing that.
Yeah.
So it does, because that's one thing people complain about. It feels cheap to just replace the Nazis with the Soviets when they were different.
Okay, but the Soviets were actually better at, existing because they're still around.
You mean Russia is still around?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's not owned by... I mean, it's not the... Don't have the same kind of power structure. I don't really want to get into the politics of Russia, but I don't know exactly what you mean by that statement. They were better at existing. They lasted longer, that's true for sure. But that doesn't really have to do with whether or not they would be looking for mystical artifacts.
Okay.
Especially if they were a largely very atheistic organization.
So if it's the Nazis...
Militantly atheist. Yes.
Then, well, we don't really have to change much.
Yeah.
Actually.
Well, the thing is, if it's the Nazis, it does feel like overdone at this point. But it also feels like arbitrary to just change it to be the Soviets, unless it being the Soviets has an actual effect.
What you were typing, right?
No, I was going to type in first he has a run-in with the Nazis, the Soviets, and then he probably has like one run-in with them and he escapes, and then he has a second run-in with them and it looks like all is lost, and then the U.S. government shows up to save him, and they're like, we're going to take the skull to Area 51 and everything will be fine, and then he like realizes at some point during like the plane ride home he can't give it to them because they're going to get corrupted by it too. So he bails and he becomes James Bond in License to Kill, where the government is against him, right? He's a rogue agent, right? And he's like, there's only one place where this thing can be destroyed, right? And he has to bring it there. And it can be like on the other opposite side of the world of the Mesoamerican place where he got it. Like the geological opposite.
Okay. Antipodes map.
So let's just like, so let's choose a place in is so Mesoamerican, right?
Right.
So, where's Mesoamerica exactly? It's Mexico, right?
Sure.
That area. So let's say
Acapulco.
well, like let's just choose a place in Mexico and we'll see what shows up. All right. Like
How do I do this?
it's you did it correctly. The thing is just in empty ocean.
No, but
You need to change your location, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how to do it. Just take us off of this. I don't. This isn't helpful. We can figure it out because we can just pick a spot that's convenient.
Enter the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka. All right. So.
Wait. This is Sri Lanka? That isn't Sri Lanka. This is Sri Lanka.
Oh, you're right. Okay. So
this is the Philippines,
This is the
right?
Philippines? Okay. Are there any ancient civilizations in the Philippines?
No, this is Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Okay. There are ancient civilizations everywhere. Okay.
Well, we'll just move it. Okay. Wherever it is, we'll move it so that one side of the world. What if I was gonna say? What if he goes to Easter at Highland? No.
Sure.
Probably not. Right.
Because heads, right?
No. They didn't make just heads, Jacob. They built the statues of whole bodies, and the heads are just the only thing sticking up out of the ground in some places.
So why did they do that? It seems like a waste
Wait,
of stone.
what if the other side of the world from where he finds the crystal skull is Stonehenge, and somehow, and he has to go there? No, no, just stop.
No, I'm going to look this up.
Stonehenge. I was gonna say.
How do you spell
Well,
henge?
It's not henge, it's hedge, right?
No, it's Stonehenge.
It's hedge.
Stonehenge. Stonehenge.
You probably need to select like the Stonehenge.
There it is.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So what we're looking at here is a map of the ocean, and what's the closest island? What is it? Not in South America. All right. What if he look? It doesn't matter with the exact location.
Zealand.
It's near New Zealand. Okay, but it doesn't matter the exact location. Okay, he can find the thing in Mesoamerica, right? And then he finds the skull, right? And they need to figure out where they can take it that's safe. So they like him and whoever he's working with like cuts their hand and touches the skull, right? And they have like a vision of the place where the skull originated from and where it needs to be destroyed.
But we're not going to have all that fancy schmancy editing to do it, right? This is going to be more simple, more practical.
What are you talking about?
Well, when you think of a vision of a giant empire, don't you think there would be a lot of CG to show that?
No, I just imagine like a lot of cuts between like guys on thrones and like people being like giant masses of wealth and palaces and pyramids and stuff.
Okay. That isn't what I imagined.
It would be expensive.
It would be very expensive.
I wasn't imagining like a bunch of soldiers marching off to battle. I was imagining like you see
I was
the
imagining
rise
a
and fall.
pan from above,
You see the
downward on the huge city.
Oh, like you see it from like space as like the thing just like grows and grows.
Yeah, that.
And then like just like it's all gone suddenly.
Yes. And then the skull appears, and then it turns red, and then her nose starts bleeding
Okay.
because it's so.
Because
It's
that's what
straining on her.
happens when you have psychic interference. When that's what psychics do. Their noses bleed.
Right.
And also in Bioshock Infinite. So the
It happens a lot.
yeah,
in
nosebleeds
fiction.
in science fiction. Yeah. So fighting the Nazis, right?
Fighting the Nazis. Can you?
Well, does he have to see the future where where America takes over, or does it just have to click in his mind that they're, or can it be that he figures out they're lying about destroying the skull? They're going to keep it and use it against the Nazis. And he knows he can't leave it with them.
Okay, well, wasn't Indiana Jones some sort of patriot?
What do you mean?
Wouldn't he side with America even if what they're doing is kind of morally
He's like a
questionable?
freelancer.
Okay.
I mean, if he does this, he becomes a political fugitive. So there's a good question there. But who cares about him living in America and having a job anyway? He travels the world, stealing stuff from other cultures, trying to get it back to a museum because he's a dedicated archaeologist. The American government, on the other hand, they like.
Okay, well then no, I don't believe we need any help with this.
What do you mean?
I don't think we need an extra motive for him to be taking the skull for himself. Destroy it in Stonehenge or whatever.
Well, right. We destroy it in Stonehenge. Well, we'll figure out where he destroys. Like, we don't have to figure that out right now.
Indonesia.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. Like there's plenty of places in South America that could be, in Mesoamerica can be, and it doesn't have to be the exact geological opposite or whatever. There's all kinds of things we can do if we want to do that. We don't have to plot it out piece by piece, but specifically just a couple of moments, like the moment where he touches it, okay. All right, so action scene 1, temple and skull. Action scene 2, run in with Nazis. And there's going to be a woman, right?
Right.
Like a girl
because Nazis are progressive.
For him to fall. No, not in the Nazis. I meant like a girl for him to fall in love with.
Oh, I don't think we need that. I mean,
what about a man for him to fall in love with? What about another character for him to talk to throughout the movie so that it's not just him?
A female companion.
So there is going to be a girl for him to fall in love with. There's going to be a girl. Purely
platonic.
There's going to be a girl, and then he's going to have a platonic relationship with her. People are not going to be fans of that. All right, fine.
This is modern times.
I'm fine with it.
We can do whatever we want.
Okay. Indiana Jones as a female companion. Professor something who is platonically engaged with him. That's a weird way to phrase it, but I can't think of anything better. Alright, so action scene 1, Typhoon Skulls. Action scene 2, run-ins with Nazis, and he saves the always happens.
Every time.
Professor. Action scene 3. Nazis have them pinned, and what if Okay, well, we're getting kind of complicated here. But what if like okay, so what if he's like he's in an area, right, and the Nazis have him cornered, and then the Soviets save him from the Nazis, right? Because at this point in the war, the Soviets are working with the Allies.
Right.
And then he's like, we can't leave it in the, like the professor is like, you can't give it to the Soviets because they're never going to give it back to America, right? So they escape from the Soviets, right?
Right.
And then they have like a confrontation with the Nazis, and then the Americans show up, right? And the Americans are like, give us the skull, Dr. Jones, right? And he's like, you're like, he's like, promise me you're not gonna mess with it, right? And the guy's like, I promise. And he's like, I don't trust you. And he smashes the skull or whatever, right?
And then he jumps out the plane. They were on a plane, right?
No, I was imagining this taking place in the final center place, the place where the skull has to be destroyed, right?
Yeah, sure. I was thinking of a plane, because then he could jump off and look really cool. Never mind, it's dumb. It's stupid.
Oh, what if the last scene is on Krakatoa? No, that's stupid. Never mind. Never mind. Forget that. U.S. have been pinned, and the Soviets save the day. The professor convinces him to help her destroy the skull and betray the Soviets. Okay, so the professor, she has to die, right?
No.
Well, I was just imagining like she gets shot by like one of these groups at some point.
Okay, but then it turns out in the end that she became the Winter Soldier, right?
No, that's not. No, I was imagining she just dies. This death is a thing that happens sometimes.
Oh, I'm already sad. We haven't even created the character, and I'm already sad she's gone.
Well, I'm imagining she's like more. She's more moral than him, right?
Right.
Like he's like fortune and glory, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, it's important for the history of humanity that we get rid of this thing, or like, and you can have her say like,
she could be.
The professor says.
She could be a professor of philosophy.
Says those who do not remember history's mistakes or whatever
are doomed to repeat it.
For history's mistakes are doomed to repeat it. You are a professor of history, aren't you? And then she can like call his conviction into question, right? He like sides with her, and he can be like, oh, "God damn it!" Right?
I can't believe I'm listening to a woman.
Well, we don't have to go that far, but there can be something along those lines, sure.
A black woman. That's right. She was black the whole time, and you didn't even know.
All right, so.
This is really fun.
We should do the pyramids. The skull can only be destroyed at the pyramids.
Okay.
Look, it has to be some like big like archaeological place, right, where they have to take the skull
in the middle, at the
like,
top of the
pyramid to where it belongs.
Is a very small lens, and through the sunlight, the skull will absorb all the light and explode.
So you basically just described the scene in the first Indiana Jones where he puts down the staff and the light goes through the thing, but the whole pyramid is just that thing.
Except it's the climax.
And nobody had noticed it until now, apparently.
It's a very small lens.
No.
Oh, okay.
What's it going to be? What's going to be the place where they take? Should it be they have to bring it back to Mesoamerica?
Okay, what if it turns out that they don't need anything special to break it? They just thought it did. So it was,
Okay, well, if that's the case, then it could be that the skull gets stolen from them, right?
yeah.
Like it could be they like have the skull, the Soviets pin them, the Nazis pin them, the Soviets save them from the Nazis, the Soviets take the skull, they're like, we have to get the skull back. They steal the skull from the Soviets, escape, they're about to destroy it, and then the Soviets have them pinned again, and they take the skull, and you actually get to see like one of the guys using it, right?
Right.
And his like eyes can like roll back in his head, and he can start like murmuring gibberish about the future, and
When gravity falls,
no,
and Earth
that's
becomes
not
the sky.
right. Okay, yeah, something along those lines, and then like it can be a showdown because the Soviets can show up and then the Americans can show up, and he's like, we can't, and then he like smashes it, right, and when he smashes it, something terrible happens, right, like he smashes it and like there's like this giant scream and the whole building starts to shake and stuff starts falling.
Dude, Stalin's gonna pee himself. You just destroyed the one thing that we. I don't.
You don't want to give that to Stalin. Stalin doesn't need any help.
Now what do we do? What do we tell Stalin?
Yeah, what are we
going to be so upset with us.
Stalin is going to be so mad with us.
I'm not mad, just disappointed.
Well, I mean, those people are probably going to die. Let's be honest. Yeah, something like that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Why do you keep doing that?
I want your opinion. You don't talk as much as I do. So do we have the scene where one of the villains uses the artifact and it destroys them inevitably?
Inevitably?
Well, because that's what happens in 3 out of. That's what happened in the actual Crystal Skull, where she picks it up, right?
Right.
And she says, "Give me all," or she says, like, "Give me all your knowledge," and the aliens give it to her, and it's too much, and her brain explodes.
Or maybe,
which is stupid. And
maybe she becomes an alien, and she just exceeded the capacity of a human body.
No, I don't think that's what happens. I think the climax is showing her dying.
It might be what happens. We don't know.
Her head, like.
But we don't know for sure, though. We don't know for sure.
CGI.
But we don't know.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
We don't know.
Right. Well, you don't know what you know until you know it. Love crafty in rides with this here skull.
Oh shoot, we forgot to play the music again.
What,
the royalty-free music?
Well, we'll put a note on the. You can put like a post-it note on the computer so you can remember to do it. No, is there going to be a scene where somebody picks up the skull and then it like kills them because they don't understand its power and they're trying to
maybe he kills himself?
Oh, like it just drives him insane,
yes.
And he just like passes the skull to somebody, and then he grabs a gun and shoots himself.
Or he jumps off the cliff that he was standing next
to. Because he like
to.
sees the future of like Nazi Germany or whatever, and like it breaks him.
Wait, what kind of guy is this? Where is he from?
I was imagining a Nazi, yes, but it could also be another character.
Okay, yeah, that would explain why he has a gun.
Right. Well, we said the villain, so I'm imagining it's either one. It's one of the 3 groups that are after this here skull.
Right. Yeah. So it's simple right there.
Okay. So one of the bad guys, or a Nazi bad guy. Right. He like cuts himself and puts it on the skull.
See the future and it kills him. Or it makes him
and it makes him go, and it makes him gibber crazily and kill himself.
Makes him
scream,
gibber,
and scream
like
a crazy. I keep trying to predict, and kill himself. Oh, and this can be it. Okay, so like the Nazis get a hold, or like the bad guys get a hold of the bad guys get a hold of the skull, but they don't know that you need blood for it to work.
Wait, which bad guys?
No, that's the thing I was gonna ask. Because I was gonna just think like these guys, they get the skull right, but then they don't know how to make it work, so they threaten to kill the professor, and Indiana Jones tells them how it works.
Okay, in the opening scene, he touches the skull.
Yeah, with his hand cut. That's why I said
But
opening scene.
He already knows that you need to cut your hand.
No, it was an accident.
Okay.
He accidentally cut his hand while going through the booby traps.
Yeah, that's believable. I just wasn't sure if you were thinking that.
No, and then like they can threaten the professor and whoever else is with him and be like, "We'll shoot them if you don't tell us how it works." And he shows them you need to use blood, right?
Right. Because it isn't that much of a loss. I mean, if they destroy it, then you can't use it anyway.
Right. Right. Well, what do you mean?
Knowing how to use it doesn't matter if it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Well, at this point, they have it. Right.
Yeah.
And he tells them how to use it. So it's like.
But then the guy shoots himself, and he gets an opportunity.
And then
to take it back.
he gets an opportunity. He like grabs it and threatens to destroy it if they don't let go of his friends. Right. And then they let go of his friends, and then the other two groups show up at this temple battle, right? And we have like they're all shooting each other, right?
Yeah.
And then like one of the American agents tells him to hand over the skull, right? And he just destroys it. And or what if what if they like the Nazis like, oh, we need blood, right? So they like grab a person and they kill them and they put all of that blood. They put like a bunch of blood on it.
Okay.
Right? Like a ton. And then it goes like into all
and
their
then it projects
and then it like projects it into their heads and it like starts drives like a bunch of the people like crazy. Basically.
Yes. And then when he breaks
and they start like shooting each other
and reward him by making him immortal.
No, I wasn't gonna say. Well, yeah, but like then it can be like it can like let out a scream and they start going crazy and then like one of the guys like grabs like explosives, right, and he starts like lighting a fuse. And then it can be that they escape as the whole temple just like explodes and collapses on top of all those people and destroys the skull in the process.
Yeah.
And buries it between like many piles and piles of rubble deep in the earth.
Yes, that.
Okay. Okay. In climax. Indiana.
It seems like this movie would have multiple climaxes.
Reveals that the skull needs blood, and the Nazis put a shit ton of blood on it, and it goes crazy.
Cray.
And it goes cray, and they all lose their minds. One of them grabs the explosives as the Soviets and Americans are shooting the Nazis and each other.
Yeah.
And my eyes taste feelings. And the temple collapses as Indy and his buddies escape.
one of his buddies be Albert Einstein?
That's right, Albert Einstein is on the case. He knows about this skull and he knows it has to be destroyed. No.
Okay.
This is not turning into like Abraham Lincoln versus zombies, where a bunch of historical figures just keep popping up throughout the movie. Incidentally, they happened to be there at the time.
But I mean, we can't. What about just Albert Einstein?
A
Close
professor
friend of Indy's.
or a child is used as leverage to force Dr. Jones to give up how the skull works.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else we should talk about, or?
No.
I think we got a pretty good Indiana Jones style plot going down here. We didn't figure out any of the set pieces. Like,
Okay.
should we design a couple of like impending doom scenarios where something bad is like slowly moving towards the situation while Indiana Jones fights a large man?
So I figure at some point all the buddies or accomplices of Indy are tied up in chairs.
Right.
And then Indiana Jones has to swoop in, distract everyone, and then free them.
Okay. That's very generic.
Okay, so never mind that.
No, but I mean, like
I'm sorry, I'm still hooked on the Albert Einstein idea.
Stop. Well, you need to let go of that idea because I don't think that's really gonna fit in here. We need to come up with like if we don't have the ant scene, right? Like, what is the equivalent in this? Like they're gonna be all over the world, but are they gonna stay in South America, right?
Mostly.
South America mostly. Okay, so like, what are a couple of things we can do? They could have a scene where they are like fighting on the river.
Yeah.
Does that sound interesting?
Or in the river.
What does that mean?
They're fighting, and then one of them punches them, and then they knock them down onto the river, and then they're fighting while the water is flowing against them.
Okay, so there's like a scene where someone's like holding onto one side of the raft while they're being pushed back against it by the water, and
they're fighting.
And someone keeps like punching them over and over again. Okay, so one of the set pieces uses the Amazon River. 3 rafts, machine guns, waterfalls, low-hanging vines, and rapids. Okay, what's another set piece that we can have?
Well, volcanoes, mountains,
volcanoes. I like that idea.
You don't like the mountains idea?
Well, what do you mean mountains, though? It's very...
There are a lot of mountains in South America.
Yeah, but there's like stuff you can do with volcanoes, like mountains. Mountains just exist, surely.
Okay, fine. Let's talk
what
about...
if there's a scene, like Series of Unfortunate Events style, where they're inside a moving vehicle hurtling backwards down a mountain?
Or into a volcano.
No.
And they're on a wooden board held just by the hands of 2 Nazis. And they're still fighting on the car, on the wooden board, above the volcano.
Situation where lava is slowly entering a chamber and burning people alive. Okay? Does it sound good to you?
Yes.
Okay. What else?
I think we should bring back the ants, though.
You think we should bring back the ants?
We should bring back the ants, though.
What if there's world's largest snake, green anaconda? That's the largest snake, right? Or is it's the reticulated python, the snake? No, but like a giant anaconda shows
The
up.
largest snake in all of history was called the Titanoboa, and it existed during dinosaur times.
I'm talking about the one that exists, the one that's still alive.
Okay.
No, we don't have to look it up because it doesn't matter because they're not going to be in the area where the reticulated python exists.
Is Medusa reticulated python? Okay. Reticulated python.
Yeah, that's what I thought. What are a couple of booby traps that can exist?
What about fear sensors?
Fear sensors.
Yes. Remember in Raiders of the Lost Ark when he moved his hand along the sun rays and then the spikes came out? How do you suppose that happened?
Motion detection technology. Magic.
Okay.
No, I'm just
what if monkeys jump out from the ceiling?
No. How is that? In what situation is that a threat?
Well, they're monkeys. They can beat them up.
All right. Okay. So
Some sort of animal.
So the skull is found in it is to be taken to palace to kingdom inside mostly dormant volcano.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. So that can be where the lava comes in. And what's a couple of ones that we can do? There can be one of them. Like slowly disappearing floor.
Like it becomes intangible.
No, like the floor is like pulling away.
But I like this intangible idea.
It's like slow.
It turns into air.
The door is the floor is like slowly like moving.
And then underneath is another floor.
No, the wall.
And that disappears as well. And under that floor is lava. And spiders that can live in lava. Lava spiders.
Yeah, sure. But I don't think that is a thing. But it's certainly something to think about. Yeah, sure. What if trying to think of stuff that hasn't already been done before. It's actually cool. Okay. What would it make sense for these people to build to protect their stuff?
Some sort of primitive version of a gun. Keep in mind, this was an empire that could predict the future, so they were more advanced than the regular Mesoamerican.
Yeah. That makes sense that they would have knowledge of that stuff. Okay. flamethrower booby trap. Puzzle booby trap with hieroglyphics, and the skull is used to solve it. There we go.
You have to put it in the wall.
Just imagine someone
Where
cuts their hand
the
and touches it.
skull-shaped imprint is.
Cuts their hand and touches it, and they use the knowledge that it gives them to solve the puzzle.
I wonder how to solve it.
And it makes them go. And it makes them go slightly crazy. Professor can use it. The professor cuts herself and uses it, and it makes her kind of loopy.
Does she die soon after that?
Well, I thought we were saying that she wasn't going to die, but does she die?
I mean, if you were agreed that she doesn't die, then no, she isn't going to die. Because I don't want her to die.
Yeah. Okay.
I've already grown attached to her character.
Ending scene. The professor asks Indy what he's going to do now that he's not allowed back in the States.
Wait, he's just banned from America?
Well, that's what happens, right?
Well, then how is Indiana Jones 5 going to start?
With him not being in America?
Okay, fine. I suppose it isn't that much of a cripple to not be in America, but really though, it was his home.
He pretends like it's no big deal and tells her to do well
In school.
and wishes her luck with her. Anything else? Should we figure out any other kinds of any other situations? What if there's one inside in the? What if there's like crystals that create like laser beams? Yes. Like they refract light and they make lasers, right? And they keep like moving the crystals can be like adjusted so the laser like moves across the.
Yes.
Okay.
That's,
so
man, you just detecting my thoughts, yo.
And can be moved to shift the laser beam. The refraction of the laser beam. Alright.
It makes him gibber like crazy.
Okay. Alright, well, I think we've come up with some fine ideas on how. I mean, we made it. It's pretty generic, I would say, as far as a Indiana Jones film goes.
I would watch it.
Yeah.
Then again, I would have watched the original movie. But this seems to be a lot more engaging.
Yeah.
This would probably be more memorable.
I like the fact that there's a point where, because like in the first movie, they give the Americans get the Ark of the Covenant, and he's like, they're idiots, they're gonna blow themselves up messing with that thing. So like it seems like a natural progression for at some point he gets a hold of something powerful and they're like, yeah, give it to us, and he's like, I can't give it to you because the fate of the world is in danger or whatever.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You're smart as well.
And I kind of like the professor character we created, even though we didn't give her a name or any distinct personality features.
I assume she would be more critical or
Yes,
cynical?
I
'Cause
was
in
imagining
the
her
quote,
being cynical and critical of some of the stuff that he does, and kind of
because what he does is
sassy,
kind
but
of silly.
yeah, she can be uh the professor the professor can be slightly uh self-aware, or what's the word,
Meta.
can be slightly meta about what he does and be very critical of power and anyone and knowledge. Yeah, and knowledge. Okay.
Oh, I feel great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we did. I mean, we need about like 4 more action sequences that we need to put in there. But like for this, I think we created a fairly certain idea of what we're going for. We got like a tone. We got some main characters. Should we write down like a couple of ideas for the villains, as far as like the Nazi villains? And
I mean, I don't think Indiana Jones villains really need that much character. There's already so much else going on.
yeah, but like you remember the villains from each movie.
I don't remember any of their names.
Yeah, but you remember what they looked like because they were.
Yes, I remember what they.
They
Well,
were distinctly
I
evil,
didn't
right?
quite remember the guy in the Last Crusade.
Okay, well, you remember the guy from
Okay,
the
well, there was the
first
woman.
2 movies. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
there was a guy overseeing her who was with a completely forgettable face.
Right, but you remember the American who was the Nazi sympathizer.
Yes, that he's the guy I'm talking about.
Right.
Completely forgettable.
Oh, okay. Well, and this is how we say goodbye in Germany.
This is how we say goodbye in Austria, and this is how we say goodbye in Germany.
So stupid. All right.
And if you are a Scottish god, then I am Mickey Mouse. How dare he?
You know, but do you think we should?
I'm starting to think the Indiana Jones franchise is kind of silly.
It is. It's intensely puts hand through light beam and blades come out. Yeah. Well,
Man, I really wish we could
think
edit
about this.
stuff. That would look a
Think
lot
about
more
this,
funny.
Jacob. Let's say that you own something valuable.
Yep.
Then you decide to put it in a temple and leave it unguarded. But to make sure that nobody gets to it, you're going to devise a series of Rube Goldberg-esque traps, which will inevitably like decay and no longer work after a certain amount of years. And some of those traps are going to be based on animals persisting for long periods of time in enclosed spaces, presumably without any forms of food.
Well, maybe it's a trap for animals, so they would continue to fall in.
Okay.
Yes. What?
It's the stupidity of that statement struck me so hard. Okay, well, we don't have to we don't have come up with a couple of, but we should come up with the CIA agent, slimy CIA agent, creepy, and zealous KGB agent, Nazi captain, and there should be, usually there's like someone who's helping the Nazis who isn't on their side. Who isn't like
Mesoamericans.
I mean, we don't refer to them as that, like in the modern era, Jacob.
Why?
I just don't think we do. I mean, I could be wrong. But there could be like there could be a Nick or Central American or an Argentinian guy, right?
Yes.
Argentinian man.
Argentinian.
Argentinian man. An Argentinian professor who is female. Who is female?
Congratulations, we made the quota.
What do you mean? Because there's two of them. Well, there would be other. I mean, because it's not there's gonna be him and the professor. I was imagining there's like a child and maybe like a sort of rotund man who assists with the boating or something. Like he's like their guide, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
So,
I catch your drift.
Small child. What's the word? Sidekick. Sidekick. Batman sidekick. There we go.
Really?
Well,
I thought we were being politically correct with
what?
this movie.
And
now we have a child and a fat man.
But both of them.
Just because it would be
but
funny.
Both of them are going to be natives.
Right.
To the area. Is that more offensive?
No, I think it's just as offensive.
Would you prefer it was a fat woman?
No.
What if we make the child fat and the man extremely thin?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think an Indiana Jones movie is ready for an anorexic Latin American man.
He doesn't have to be anorexic to be extremely thin. Look, I'm just saying we change his body type, not his personality. He can still be bumbling. And slightly bumbling man. And slightly bumbling man. Let's go. It is forever changed.
But in a good way. Or in a not bad way.
In a bad way. And who leaves with Indy at the end.
And then he becomes John F. Kennedy.
As we previously discussed, he is non-white. He or she.
Right.
Forgot
about that.
In a bad way.
Part.
And she, it can be a girl, and she leaves with Indy.
Hey, we passed the quota.
Well, now we have 3, and 2 of them are non-white. So,
Past multiple quotas. We're almost as diverse as a Lovecraftian story.
That's definitely not true. We're way more diverse, but yeah, sure. So you think that's good enough?
Yes.
Yes.
We made far more changes than the last one.
Well, the last one we made a lot of general changes about how we would adapt the story because we already knew what the story was.
The Hobbit should have been a lot shorter.
Yes,
so,
it was because we already knew what the story was because we already have the Hobbit book to read. We had to build this one from scratch.
Right.
So we had to throw in a lot of stuff and try and figure out what would work in Indiana Jones film.
Yeah. And we did it.
Yeah.
We're geniuses.
Totally. Yes.
We are geniuses.
That's right. Seaplane and dog fight. Yes? No?
Fight,
maybe?
As in a fight between dogs?
As in a fight between planes.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, do that.
Above the jungle. Indy's plane crashes at some point. Do we have a scene with a giant snake or no?
I mean, we could put a giant snake anywhere.
No, but
Put
I'm
a
just
giant
asking,
snake in it.
are we
Suddenly
going to,
make so much more money.
okay, but are we going to become the thing that we hate, or are we going to say no to the giant snake?
No to the giant snake.
Okay, all right. We don't have to write down what we're not going to put in.
No
Snakes.
to
You should probably just say no
giant snake. I mean, we could have some snakes. No, okay, no snakes.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's so
No
meany.
snakes.
Well, because
My anaconda don't. My anaconda. What?
Stop that.
Green anaconda. Green anaconda.
Well, because him being afraid of snakes was like a relevant thing in the first movie, and then in the second movie they like reference it, and then in the third movie they're like, well, he was afraid of snakes. His father was terrified of rats, and then in the fourth movie they're like, yeah, oh yeah, he's still afraid of snakes, and also his son is afraid of scorpions. It's so stupid. All right, so
Indiana Jones 5 is going to be about.
And on that note, we're going to say
goodbye,
friends.
It's Footnotes.
Yes,
Footnotes.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go back.
This is a really important part.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure it is. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Eventually, we are going to come out with one for Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which should be interesting because I have a lot of notes, and I'm sure you have some notes on how we can make that movie not a flaming piece of burning esophagus, hatred, smog, poop.
Yeah, I have some ideas.
Other words. Yes. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions on how you would make this movie better, then you can surely tell us in the comment section. And have a nice day.